I actually don't know if they'll see me as a bad girl in this show. I feel like I have a past and a story to tell. But
She didn't post a goodbye, no explanation, no final message to her millions of followers. One moment, Taylor Frankie Paul was active, visible, engaged, part of the constant stream of content. And then suddenly, everything was gone. Both her TikTok and Instagram accounts were deactivated, right in the middle of growing controversy. And that's the part that immediately raised questions. Because when someone whose entire public identity is built online disappears without a word, people don't just notice, they start looking deeper. So what exactly pushed her to step away at this exact moment? Was this a calculated move to regain control, or a reaction to something that had already spiraled beyond control? Because from what we know so far, this wasn't a random break. This happened after multiple controversies began surrounding her, drawing increasing public attention. And the timing suggests one thing very clearly. This decision didn't happen in isolation. Here's what is actually confirmed. Taylor Frankie Paul, a prominent TikTok creator, deactivated both of her major social media platforms following mounting scrutiny linked to personal controversies. There was no detailed public statement explaining why, no direct clarification addressing the situation, just a complete withdrawal from the platforms that built her visibility in the first place. And that absence of explanation is exactly what turned a situation into a full-blown conversation. Because when the facts are limited, interpretation takes over. But that's where things started to shift. This wasn't just about one moment or one incident. The situation appears to have built over time. Multiple controversies, layered, ongoing, and increasingly visible, created a kind of pressure that is almost unique to social media figures. And the more visible those controversies became, the louder the reaction got. On platforms like TikTok, attention moves fast, but backlash moves even faster. Every discussion, every reaction, every repost amplifies the situation. And when a creator's identity is closely tied to their personal life, as Taylor Frankie Paul's content often is, that amplification becomes personal, not distant, not abstract, direct. But here's the part that made this different. There wasn't a moment where everything was clearly explained. There wasn't a single statement that clarified what was happening or how serious it actually was. Instead, what the public received was silence. And in the world of social media, silence doesn't slow things down, it accelerates them. Because without direct information, people begin connecting dots on their own. At first, what the public saw was simple. A creator, a controversy, and then a sudden disappearance. But then something else started happening. People began questioning not just what happened, but why it escalated so quickly. Because deactivating both TikTok and Instagram isn't a small decision. It's not just stepping away, it's cutting off the main channel of communication entirely. And that raises a bigger question. What kind of pressure leads someone to make that choice? But that wasn't the part that shocked people the most. What really intensified the situation was how quickly public perception began to shift. Without a clear narrative from her side, the conversation became driven entirely by outside voices, media coverage, online discussions, assumptions. And each of those layers added more complexity, but not necessarily more clarity, because there's a difference between information and interpretation. And then something unexpected happened. Instead of the situation fading after her disappearance, it actually gained more attention, because stepping away didn't stop the conversation. It removed her from it. And that created a vacuum, one that was quickly filled by speculation. This is where the drama deepens. On one level, the public sees a creator stepping away during controversy. On another level, there's a growing sense that the situation might be more complicated than what's visible. Because the decision to deactivate isn't just about avoiding attention, it can also be about regaining control. But whether that works or backfires depends entirely on what happens next. And that brings us to the people involved. Taylor Frankie Paul is not just another content creator. Her platform was built on sharing personal experiences, relationships, and real-life moments. That kind of content creates a strong connection with an audience. But it also creates expectations. When something goes wrong, that same audience expects answers. And when those answers don't come, the reaction can become unpredictable. From the outside, her decision can be interpreted in different ways. Some may see it as a necessary step, creating space, stepping back from pressure, protecting personal well-being. Others may see it as avoidance, leaving questions unanswered at the height of controversy. But without direct clarification, both interpretations remain just that, interpretations. And that's what makes this situation more serious than it initially appears. Because what's at stake isn't just a temporary absence from social media. It's reputation, it's trust. It's the long-term relationship between a creator and their audience. Once that connection is disrupted, rebuilding it becomes significantly more difficult. But here's where things take another turn. The lack of clear information means the situation isn't fully defined yet. And that uncertainty keeps the story alive. Because as long as there are unanswered questions, people keep watching, waiting, trying to understand what really happened behind the scenes. So now everything comes down to one thing. What happens next? Does she return and address the situation directly? Or does the silence continue, allowing the narrative to be shaped entirely by others? Because in moments like this, timing matters. And every moment without an answer adds another layer to the story. Right now, the facts remain limited. She deactivated her accounts. The decision followed multiple controversies, and the public reaction is still evolving. Everything else exists in a space that hasn't been fully explained yet.